Hello, my name is PJ Caposey, Superintendent of Schools for Meridian 223. This presentation is designed to help everyone understand how the levy process works. In Illinois, it's a more convoluted process than it needs to be, and this presentation is an attempt to make sense of what could be a complex entity that really impacts all of us, not only in how we serve schools, but in how you as community members are taxed. So at the very root level, a levy is the ability of the school to tax its local property owners and business owners to collect revenue in order to support its operation. The complexities really start and end with the fact that everything is based off of our EAV, which is our equalized assessed value. So a large, expensive home is taxed more than a smaller, less expensive home. The issue for us is that we don't have a firm number to start with. So the whole process is really a guess. And so for us, we look at what our historical EAV is, and you can see that we've kind of followed the economy and we took a deep dip and now we're kind of climbing ourselves out. And then we confer with our county assessors, and in our district, we are both in Winnebago and Ogle County. And then we take a guess at what the EAV might be for next year. And as you can see, Ogle County is projecting us really high, which is great news if it's true for the school district and for community owners. But in conferring with other Ogle County schools, we are much higher than others. And so it is difficult necessarily to trust that. And so additionally, when we compare what Winnebago County believes we're going to do in terms of increase in EAV compared to Ogle County, there's a wide discrepancy. That said, just using the data that they provided us, this is where we project to be when we start constructing our levy. So once you take the EAV, you determine each levy, but you do it by fund. The reason you do it by fund is that the majority of funds, and I'll explain that in a second, are capped. So there's a legal limit as to what we can tax. What we've historically done is just captured everything which we can do. The interesting part is if the number that the assessor gave us was too low, and we don't increase or balloon the levy, that means if they're wrong, then we leave money that the district could capture on behalf of its students, and we leave that on the table. And so there's this game you play in terms of how much you can balloon the levy and still stay under a 5% tax increase total. And the reason that you do that is simply because once you go over 5%, there's this thing called truth in taxation. And you have to give a presentation, which is actually much less comprehensive than what I'm giving now, except you have to publicize it in the paper. And the verbiage that you're required by law to provide in the paper is incredibly misleading and confusing and causes a lot of community stress and strife. And so if possible, you just stay under that 5%, and then you can present it in this much more easy to consume fashion that doesn't cause upset for our taxpayers. And so Fund 10 is the major fund. That's where we spend everything in education, everything from our teacher salaries to administrator salaries, paraprofessionals, food service, etc. And so we have 3.48 is our fund cap. And so basically we take what the projected EAV is, multiply it by that, divide it by 100. You can see the math problem there. I'm not going to walk you all the way through it. But then you see that we should get around $6,205,000 in that fund. We're going to balloon that up just to do the best we can to make sure that we capture every possible cent in ed fund. That's our most important fund. And you can see we kind of do a similar thing in buildings and grounds. Buildings and grounds, the rate is a little bit lower, as you can see, but the exact Fund 30 is one of the ones where there is a different process. Fund 30 is our long-term debt. So when we do major building projects, this is where you see this come in. When we did the big health life safety, we take out bonds, which is essentially we take out credit card debt. So we get money up front and then we collect on it late. And then the collectors collect on it through the taxation process. And so what we get is exactly what we need in this. So we don't, everything we request, we always receive, but we can't request more than we're scheduled to in our payment process. Fund 40 transportation rolls just like Fund 10 and Fund 20, again, but smaller than both of them. Fund 50 is IMRF Social Security. This is for all of our non-certified staff, so non-teachers, non-administrators. This is the retirement process and fund that how this flows through. We have a bit of a fund balance in this area, and as a result, we are intentionally in deficit spending. The reason we're intentionally in deficit spending is there's no need to carry a balance in this fund, and if we are slowly matriculate this down, it allows us to ease the burden on taxpayers. So you can see that we're going to, last year we captured $420,000 in this fund. This year we're going to capture $400,000 in this fund and continue to knock that tax rate down. Fund 60 is capital projects. We don't tax there. Fund 70, working cash. Again, a very small rate, especially when you compare it to some of the larger ones up front, but follows the exact same process. Fund 80 is risk management, otherwise known as tort. This is another one that allows us to capture whatever we need. We are allowed by our risk management plan to extend to $800,000, $900,000 in this. Again, we take only what we need in this area. So we asked for $520,000. That number's been constant for a number of years, despite adding many security features, as you've seen, such as the lobby guard, and adding a school resource officer. We've been able to keep our expenditure here relative. And Fund 90 is fire and safety. So when you do big health, life, safety projects like we did, we deplete this fund first before we go out and ask for additional bonds. Same process as the majority of the fund. Lease rent doesn't have its own fund number, but this is for anything that we can lease. And so there's really two major things that school districts lease. One is all technology can be leased, and the other is buses. We use it a little bit for both. Then lastly, special education. We have a fund where we can bring in revenue just to support our special education processes as well. So in summary, based on the EAV of 178 million, which is what the assessors have queued us in for, we are going to ask for $10,615,000. We expect to receive $10,537,000, and that is based, again, on what the assessors have told us. I think that's high. I don't think we're going to quite get there. But again, based on the data that we have, that is our best guess. And just to be transparent, typically we are in the same situation where our assessors kind of shoot high, and we come in a little bit below that. And then we expect the tax rate doing this to be 5 points. And then this last slide is just to show you a little bit of our tax rate history. So you can see that in FY16, when we first secured the referendum, we had a 5.99 tax rate, and you can see that right now we're at 5.91. So the referendum tax rate increase is 0.7. So without that, we'd be at a 5.21, which means that, again, outside of that referendum boost, which obviously we need, but outside of that, we are at the lowest tax rate since FY13. So we are doing our best to be fiscally responsible while still moving our district forward academically and trying our best to keep up with our buildings to create the safest and most appealing environment possible for our students to attend. Thanks for listening. My name is PJ Caposey, Superintendent of Schools, Meridian 223. Thank you, and make it a great day.